Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Football Friendly Focus, Week 5 for Stardom and Situm. So, what did we learn from last week? We learned that Tom Brady is pretty good, but Patrick Mahomes might be better. It's not all necessarily his entire fault. Defense was just kind of befuddled, and Mahomes was just kind of making magic razzle dazzle plays all over the place. So, um, both still good quarterbacks, both still worth starting and everything. Also, we learned that this season is very unpredictable. You can never assume that any kind of matchup you have, it's going to be, a lock, guaranteed, or anything like that, So, and it seems that Matt Stafford might be suffering from a Super Bowl hangover, or he might be one of those teams that he plays against, the 49ers at San Francisco, is going to be a tough start going forward. And I learned that the hard way when I had him going, and then all of a sudden he threw the pick six, and that ruined my night. But onward to week 5. So hopefully you guys had a better week than I did. I lost in both leagues. 2-2, one league, 1-3. So not the end of the world yet, but no need to panic yet. So let's just jump right into the games for this week. So Thursday's game is going to be the Colts at the Broncos. I don't see starting Matt Ryan as a good option. He might get a touchdown or two, but it's at Denver. Denver's defense, they always seem to play better at home. I believe Jonathan Taylor is not playing, so Neiman Hines is a good pickup, but I don't think they're gonna be down, so they're probably not gonna be running the ball really well. I'm not sure about Michael Pittman. I think that Matt Ryan's definitely going to be throwing to his tight ends a lot. So look for Mo Cox to probably get a lot of receptions. And I forgot the other tight end name, but look for him too as well. But I'd trust Cox a little bit more. But probably only Cox. I wouldn't start the Colts defense. Wouldn't start the kicker as well. Comes to the Broncos, I think Wilson will probably get a couple like 200-300 yards, maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns. Start up Judy, start up Sutherland. Tight end I'm not sold on yet. Now this is going to be interesting for the running backs, is that Javonte Williams is out with a torn ACL, so it's Melvin Gordon's job now. But be wary, because he has fumbled 4 times this year and he's on thin ice. So I believe the backup third string guy Boone is going to be backing him up, and they also signed Latavius Murray off from the Saints. So I'd say if you have Gordon, start him, but if he fumbles again, he's probably going to be benched for Boone for sure. So Boone and Murray are definitely worth the pickups this week. The defense for Denver definitely worth a stream this week for sure. So next game is going to be the Giants at the Packers. So I think the Giants were playing the Bears last week. It was a really close game, so I don't think it's going to happen again this week. It's going to be in Green Bay, so I wouldn't recommend starting Daniel Jones, any of the wide receivers. Only person I would recommend starting is Saquon Barkley, but I think that the Packers are going to be smart. They're going to stack the lineup. They're going to prevent him from doing much, so start at your own risk. New York Giants defense, wouldn't worth a start. Aaron Rodgers definitely will start. It's going to be at home. I'd say start Lazard for sure, out of the wide receivers, and Dobbs, because they seem to be the most consistent ones to receive the ball. Tanyan got a touchdown last week. He's worth a stream this week if you have him. When you have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, definitely worth start every week. Seems that Jones seems to get closer to get more of the touchdowns, and Dillon seems to get more of the yards. And the Packers defense is actually worth a look this week, so I would definitely consider them as a streamer for sure. So next game is going to be the Steelers at the Bills. So looks like Kenny Pickett has taken over the starting job. He did throw 3 picks last week against the Jets, so it's not going to be easier against the Bills this week. So highly advise you not to start Pickett for sure. Claypool and Johnson probably not. They're probably going to be down really early. They'll throw the ball, probably waiting for some garbage time touchdowns, but I wouldn't recommend starting Pickett. If you have better options at wide receiver than the Pittsburgh wide receivers, then I would say bench them. Same with Freiermuth. And I think Najee Harris is still injured. I mean, I wouldn't suggest starting any Pittsburgh guys until Pickett gets some kind of chemistry between them. Uh, and I'm playing against Bills defense. It's not a good start. So Bills defense. Pittsburgh defense wouldn't start them either. But when it comes to the Bills, yeah, Allen, no brainer. Diggs, no brainer. McKenzie and Davis, if they're healthy, start them, sure. And Singletary is actually playing a lot better. So they'll probably be up by a lot. So they'll probably be running the ball with Singletary, Moss, and Cook. So look for Singletary to probably get some garbage time yards and touchdowns. Dawson Knox is kind of interesting. He did sign the big contract over the offseason, but he hasn't played up to his expectations at all. I would bench him until he shows some more consistency. So yeah, if you have another tight end, definitely go with them. And Bill's defense, absolutely start for sure. Next is going to be the Chargers at the Browns. So looks like Herbert is back to form. He's finding wide receivers open, and Eckler broke out last week, scored 3 touchdowns last week. Michael Meddy was promoted from the practice squad to replace Keenan Allen, who's still hurt. We don't know if he's going to be playing this week, but start all your wide receivers if you can. I would only trust Mike Williams for right now. Carter and Palmer, not sure on those. Gerald Everett, definitely start for sure, tight end. Eckler for sure. Defense, I'm not sold on them. They did give up a lot of points to Houston last week, so I would say bench them if you can. When it comes to the Browns, Brissett has actually been a pleasant surprise. He's done pretty well as a game manager. So against the Chargers defense, they are at home. I would say start Brissett for sure. Amari Cooper looked like he's been fitting in well in Cleveland, so he's worth start. Njoku, tight end, yep. Hunt and Chubb, running backs, yep, sure. I wouldn't start the Browns defense. I know they probably play better at home, but Herbert is just on another level, and he'll find a way. I think he had like the most 300-yard games since 2020, so this game might be back and forth, so I wouldn't advise starting Cleveland defense at all. So the next game is going to be the Texans and the Jaguars. So Houston played pretty well last week, but that's against the Chargers defense, which is not really good right now. It's a divisional game. It's probably going to be really tough. Trying to play each other really well. Mills did throw some picks last week, so I wouldn't advise starting Mills at all. Dameon Pierce was a nice start for last week. He did bust out for about over 100 yards, a nice 75-yard touchdown run. I would say start Pierce. Brandon Cooks, probably just those two. I wouldn't suggest starting anybody else. O.J. Howard is kind of here and there, so definitely wouldn't start Houston defense. Trevor Lawrence, start for sure. He has a good chemistry with Christian Kirk. Evan Ingram, yeah, I think I would say start everybody on offense if you have them for Jacksonville. Robinson, Titney, definitely start for sure. And Jacksonville's defense is pretty underrated, so I would say for this week, streaming-wise, yeah, if you could get them, I would say definitely worth a stream. They would probably be good for a couple sacks, maybe a couple interceptions for sure. So next game is going to be the Bears and the Vikings. Bears look really lethargic on offense. I think Fields is still trying to find his groove. I wouldn't say start him. I think the only receiver right now in the Bears is Mooney, so I wouldn't say start him. Montgomery is out, I believe, again. So Herbert will get the start. I would say he's probably only worth the one we're starting. Komet, probably not. And seeing how it is in Minnesota, they're probably going to be down pretty early. So, and Bears defense, no, not worth a start. Vikings, Kirk Cousins at home, probably definitely worth a start for sure. Um, Justin Jefferson, I think he's going to be due for a touchdown or two. Adam Thielen, maybe more yards than a touchdown, but definitely worth a start. Irv Smith, now that one's a little tough because he's kind of inconsistent. If you can find someone better as a streamer or have a backup tight end that has a better matchup, I say starting them. I'm not sure if Cook is starting or not, but if he is, start him for sure. If you have Mattinson, start him for sure. And Vikings defense, I don't know, they looked like they had it like they were definitely worth a start last week for sure against the Saints, but the Saints actually took them down to the wire. So Vikings defense, for a streamer this week, probably not. It's too risky, even though they are at home. They haven't shown enough the past couple weeks to warrant a start. So if you have somebody else, then I'd say start them for sure. Now we're going to the afternoon games. So the Lions are going to be at the Patriots. So Goff did play well without Amon Ron Brown. I can't remember his name, but played well. He found Hawkinson, I think, 3 times. Played pretty well. Found a lot of his running backs. But they are playing at the Patriots, and the Patriots at home play really well on defense. So if you don't have anybody else, then he's probably warrant a start. But I think it's overlooked that the Patriots defense is they're gonna find ways to get to Goff and force some turnovers. Hawkinson did pretty well, so I think that Goff is definitely gonna be looking forward to him. I believe Swift is still hurt, so I think there's going to be Jamal Williams and Justin Jackson, but I wouldn't recommend starting them. The Patriots' run defense is actually pretty good. And then the Lions' defense, I would definitely wouldn't start them for sure. I think Mac Jones is still hurt. I don't know about Hoyer's status, but I think it's Zappy, that third string, he actually played pretty well last week against the Packers, so now being at home, I think he's going to have a better opportunity, but start with caution, especially it's his second game he's going to start, so be very careful if you plan to start him. Wide receivers, Lions defense is awful, so yeah, Myers, Parker, if you have any of those guys, start him for sure. The only tight end I would probably trust is Hunter Henry over Jonnu Smith, but that's not saying much. Damian Harris and Ramon Stevenson, yeah, that's a good tandem. Damian Harris has scored every week since week 1, so yeah, he scored last week for me, so I think he'll score again. So they'll definitely be running on the Lions for sure. So start. And everyone says that the Patriots defense gave up a lot to the Packers. It was the Packers, so. They did pick a pick 6 off Rodgers, so I see them getting into Goff's head. They're probably going to stress him out, probably cause a lot of sacks, maybe a couple interceptions here and there, fumbles. So it's definitely worth the stream for sure. So don't overlook the Patriots defense. So next game is going to be the Seahawks at the Saints. So Geno Smith did well against the Lions. I mean, who hasn't done really well? I mean, he threw like 300-something yards and 3 touchdowns. This is going to be at the Saints, and the Saints play well at home. The defense is actually pretty good. I wouldn't suggest starting him this week, but seeing how it might be a tight game and he has to find someone to throw to, probably start Metcalf, Lockett, but it depends on how he's managing the game. When it comes to tight ends, I think it's Disley. I'm not even sure they have so many tight ends. I would start him. Rashad Penny had finally broke out and scored a couple touchdowns last week, but this is going to be at the Saints. I'd say start with caution. And it was just one game. I don't think he's going to be doing it you probably wait to see if he does on a consistent basis. So start with caution. That's what I'd say. And Seahawks defense, no, I wouldn't start. Even if Jameis Winston isn't starting, I wouldn't recommend starting. Start the Seahawks defense. I don't even know who is starting at quarterback for the Saints. It could be Winston if he passes. It could be Dalton. It could be Taysom Hill, but we don't know. I think Michael Thomas is out again. I've actually seen some people, even my league and some other leagues, like send him out for trade bait, but he's hurt. A guy that's hurt all the time. Like, why would you want to take him? I mean, he was in his prime when he was with Drew Brees, but no, not right now. I believe Kamara's going to play. I would say start Kamara. I'd say, is it Olave? I think he's the other wide receiver. It depends on who starts at quarterback, but I wouldn't trust any of the wide receivers this week for the Saints. Just Kamara for sure. And the Saints defense is actually worth a stream this week if you can, but it just depends on how they're doing offensively. But that's a big risk. So if you don't have anybody else and you probably want to start them, then possibly, but that's a very risky start though. So the next game is going to be the Dolphins at the Jets. So Dolphins are not going to have Tua, but I believe that Bridgewater is actually a very good, capable backup. So I think they'll be okay. I would say start Waddle, start Tyreek for sure. Got to get the ball to them somehow. Gesicki, I think the Jets defense is actually pretty bad. The running backs, depends on who's running the ball. It's kind of tough when they use two guys, you know. Is it Mostert and Edmonds? So it's kind of tough. I lean more toward Mostert. And the Dolphins defense is probably worth the stream this week. I know Zach Wilson is back, but they were playing against the Patriots. The Steelers. So it was probably easier matchup. But now it's a divisional game. I think he might have more difficulty playing this week. The Dolphins secondary is actually pretty good. I wouldn't recommend starting anybody on the Jets this week. I'd say bench them if you can. And then when it comes to the defense, I wouldn't start the Jets, even though they're at home. So I think that the Dolphins are going to find a way to move the ball there. I think they're just too good on offense, regardless of Tua being out. So next game is going to be the Falcons at the Buccaneers. It seemed the Falcons like 2 weeks ago did pretty well, but now they were kind of just like kind of in mid. Now that they're going to be at the Buccaneers, I wouldn't recommend starting Mariota. Probably wouldn't start Kyle Pitts or Drake London as well. I believe Cordell Patterson is on short-term IR, so I can't remember who the backup running back is, but I wouldn't recommend picking them up. And then the Falcons defense, nope, I wouldn't recommend starting them. So Tom Brady's at home again this week. Definitely start. He's probably pissed off. He's probably going to throw like 5 touchdowns this week. So definitely worth start. Mike Evans, definitely worth start. Chris Godwin, he looked like he's back. I thought he was going to be hurt again, but he didn't do too bad. And then, I think those two guys, I wouldn't recommend starting Gage, or if Julio comes back. Just the only two guys I would trust is Evans and Godwin. Braid is kind of been like non-existent, so I wouldn't touch him until he actually starts doing better. I think this is going to be the week that Leonard Fournette scores a rushing touchdown. I mean, he caught one last week, but he's overdue, man. Come on, give me some touchdowns this week. But and then Tampa Bay defense, yeah, they're gonna force some turnovers. They're probably mad from last week from giving up so many points. So next game is gonna be the Titans at the Commanders. So Tannehill did pretty well last week against the Colts. I don't know if it's a fluke thing. I think a lot of people just do well against the Colts. Commanders defense is actually pretty bad, so he's probably worth a start. And the only wide receiver I know on the Titans is Robert Woods. Looks like he's finally connecting with Tannehill, so he's definitely worth a start for sure. Derrick Henry, yeah, you got to start him if you have him, of course. And then I know that Tennessee's defense seems to be popular this week, stream against Washington, but regardless of what the record says and how they might be playing, I think um, that the Commanders actually play pretty well there, and they're not going to be at home, so I think it might be kind of a trap to pick up the Tennessee defense. They might play one or two good games, but history shows that they haven't been that consistent. So I would not suggest starting their defense. It might be a trap. You're like, oh, it looks good on paper, but then if you start them, all of a sudden, the Commanders like take off or something. So I mean, if the Titans were at home, yeah, for sure, but they're not at home. They're going to be at the Commanders. So I think Wentz is due for a bounce back. I know he lost Doxson for like about a week or two with a bum knee or ankle, but he still got Curtis Samuel and he still got Terry McLaurin. So and Logan Thomas is gonna probably pick up the slack. They got Antonio Gibson, so they got a lot of offensive weapons to use. So I would say start those guys for sure. Commanders defense probably not. Nah, I wouldn't start them. So next game is gonna be the 49ers at the Panthers. So Jimmy G actually did pretty well last week, well enough for them to win. Now they're at the Panthers, which is a pretty bad team right now. I think at Debo Samuel is worth a start. Even Ayuk is probably worth a look this week. They might be up by a lot, so they might be running the ball with Jeff Wilson a lot, but it's a really good matchup to start all your offensive guys for the 49ers. And the 49ers defense is actually worth a look this week too, because they're going to be pressuring Baker Mayfield this week. So I don't know if it's his line or him still trying to fit in, but he hasn't been really doing well, so I would not warrant a start for him. DJ Moore, Robert Anderson, looks like they disappeared. Now, if you're one of the guys that were lucky and didn't draft Christian McCaffrey, you guys are probably like really excited. So I don't know if he's still trying to get back into it from after suffering an injury last year, but it doesn't look like the offense at all is clicking. And then you really start with him, but yeah, I wouldn't start him either. And Carolina defense, nope. So nobody on Carolina. So the Eagles at the Cardinals. So this is probably going to be a very interesting game. So the Eagles are 4-0. Jalen Hurts has been throwing for at least 300 yards and a couple touchdowns, throwing and running for touchdowns every week. So I'd say he start for sure. Even though it's in Arizona, he's going to make it work with his arm or with his feet. So AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, started that. He's developing really good chemistry between them. They're definitely at the ball. Same with Dallas Goedert. The only running back I would recommend is Gainwell. I think he's actually played well enough not to become like the surefire starter. I mean, they'll rotate guys in, but Gainwell for sure. And the Eagles' defense is actually plays pretty well. So they're probably gonna have Darius Slay on Marquise Brown for sure. So if that happens, then Kyler Murray might have to go to his other options, and without DeAndre Hopkins out, it might be tough. So if you have Murray, I would say start with caution, even though they're at home. It looks like they've been getting points here and there, but this defense is a lot different than what they've been playing before. So excuse me. Marquise Brown, like I said, might be covered by Darius Slay, but he's too good to bench, so he'll get some looks. That's for sure. Zach Ertz, he'll probably be the second option to throw to if Murray gets into trouble. James Conner's been more consistent. I wouldn't. There hasn't been too bad of a game play for him to say bench him. So I'd say start him if you can. Probably the flex. And Arizona defense probably not. I think the Eagles are going to just score a lot of points. It might be a back and forth kind of game, but I think the Eagles are probably going to be scoring more points. So next game is going to be the Cowboys and the Rams. So this game might be difficult to predict or see who starts. Cooper Rush has been playing pretty well as of late, but that's kind of more of back end kind of teams. Now they're going to go be at the Rams. I wouldn't say start him. I mean, I think they were mad last week for losing, so I think Aaron Donald and the Rams defense they're probably gonna pressure Rush a lot, but but I think that you should start Lamb. Of course, he's a no-brainer. Gallup scored a touchdown last week, but I would have to see it every week. Probably see it to warrant a start because right now it's just like maybe just as one. We don't know how you're going to do this week against a better defense. So um, Elliott seems to be kind of a shell of himself because he's splitting with Tony Pollard. I don't know if he's lost a step or what. I would say bench Ezekiel Elliott for this week. I see them throwing the ball a lot more, and then maybe some screenplays with Tony Pollard. Um, Dalton Schultz is going to be back, I believe, and yeah, he'll probably be another security blanket for Cooper Rush. But when it comes to the run game, I don't think that they're gonna be able to run really well. Um, Stafford, on the other hand, man, he let me down last week. Oh man, it's another good defense. I know Dallas is not as I mean, it's at home, but it's at Dallas. Dallas's defense is not to be like looked past at. So um, they might give him some trouble. I mean, he might throw a couple yards. It'll probably be in the middle. Might get like 20 points or something, maybe a touchdown or two. But it seems like he can only find Higbee and Cup. I mean, Allen Robinson seems lost. And then when they're behind, they don't really throw the ball as much. I mean, run the ball as much. So it'd be kind of tough with Akers and Henderson. So maybe a flex the most. Uh, Cup is definitely worth a start for sure, of course. So Allen Robinson, I say bench him until further notice. Higbee's getting looks, so yeah, start for sure. And the Rams defense, I'm not sure on that one. So I would say no, even though it's a rush and stuff. But I think I see the Cowboys actually doing a lot better. So if you have a better matchup, then I say start them. And the last game for Sunday was going to be the Bengals at the Ravens. So Bengals have been playing a lot better as of late. Burrow starting for sure. Start the trio of Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. Joe Mixon, start him. Hayden Hurst actually got a touchdown last week, so I think it's going to boost his confidence, and then he'll definitely get some looks for sure. I wouldn't start Cincinnati defense against Lamar Jackson. Comes to Lamar Jackson, yeah, start him for sure. Comes to his wide receivers, I think it's Dumerve, and I forgot the other guy, but start them for sure. The tight end for Baltimore. Oh my God, he's drawing a blank. And Mark Andrews, sorry. Start him. He's definitely start. The running back, let's see. He's coming back. I think it's Simmons. But I'd say start him, yeah. Start him. Baltimore defense is not what they used to be. They're giving up a buttload of points. The Marcus Peters was getting into with Jim Harbaugh about how they're giving up so many points. So I believe it's a divisional game. Cincinnati plays them really well. So yeah, don't start the Baltimore defense. And the game for Monday night is going to be the Raiders at the Chiefs. They seem to play each other pretty well. I see this game going back and forth. So Derek Carr, yeah, sure. Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs. Wouldn't start Raider defense. I mean, against Mahomes, you probably wouldn't start any defense. But Mahomes, no-brainer. Now, the wide receivers are tricky. It's Hardman and, Juju Smith and then Valdez Scantling. So you don't know who's going to get the ball. There's, no clear-cut guy, so it's kind of tough. So the only guy I would trust is getting the ball in the air is Kelsey. Of course, he's worth a start. Edwards-Helaire, yeah. And KC defense, no, I wouldn't start them. So then we're now going to go to kickers. So it's just easy for me to do it this way because I don't remember the name of all the kickers. So just give me a minute. Tyler Bass at the Steelers. I see him getting a lot of points. They're probably going to be up by so much, kicking field goals and then, extra points and everything. Daniel Carlson, the Chiefs. Yep. If they can't get into the end zone, they're going to be kicking field goals for sure. So let's see this going as a back and forth game with a lot of points. Tucker against the Bengals. Yep. Lamar Jackson is going to get him close there. He's going to be scoring. Evan McPherson at the Ravens. I'm sorry. Yeah, I see them. I see that Bengals putting up a lot of points, getting him a chance to kick some field goals too. Suck up against the Falcons. Yeah, the Buccaneers, they score a lot of points. They're probably going to score a lot of points this week for sure. Matt Gay against the Cowboys. So if Stafford can't get him in the end zone, definitely get him close enough probably to kick some field goals for sure. So he's definitely with the start. Probably going to kick some 40 to 50 yarders for sure. Brandon McManus against the Colts. Yeah, I see them scoring a lot on the Colts this week. So Cade York against the Chargers. Yeah, the defense for the Chargers is pretty bad right now. I see them getting into field goal range a lot of scoring opportunities for him. And Robbie Gould against the Panthers. I think that the 49ers are going to dominate the Panthers, so a lot of scoring opportunities for Gould. So that's going to be it for the Stardom Situm for Week 5 of the NFL. Hopefully you guys will do good this week. Hopefully I'll get out of this off the schneid and do better this week. I'm really hoping for a win. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to my advice if you guys listen to it. But comment, like, subscribe. Tell me how you guys are doing, of course. And thanks for nerding out to our nonsense. And thanks again for watching, guys. And we'll see you next week.